Welcome to the Business Unscripted podcast. We're here to share real-life insights, practical strategies, and the honest lessons that we have learned from our own mistakes because, frankly, we have been in your shoes. So whether you need help with operations, accountability, financial knowledge, sales, or maybe just getting your mindset right, we are here, and this is the right spot for no-fluff conversations and tools that work. So grab your favorite cup of joe. Let's jump into the show. Hey, everybody. Hope you're grabbing your favorite cup of joe. So we're going to jump into the show like that little famous voiceover guy. I don't know who he is, man. I got to pay him a lot of money. But I'm going to enjoy my cup of joe here while we sit in a beautiful Friday morning, another beautiful Friday morning. I can't believe, honestly, that it's almost the end of June. Like it's July next week. July 4th, a big July 4th for those of us in the United States, 250 years, man. Crazy to think how much just in a small period of time this world has changed. But we're here for another episode. As you can probably see, I'm by myself today. No JJ. JJ is actually in the middle of a baseball game right now, which actually is a good idea. Let me check to see. Are they winning? Let's find out. And Dwarn, you're sick, buddy. So hope you and everybody in the family are feeling well. And right now it's the bottom of the second, and JJ's team is up 5-1. So good luck there, buddy. Looks like JJ's 0 for 1 in batting, but so he'll be back next week. Actually, we'll be on the road next week. We're in another tournament, but we'll be doing JJ and I will be doing the show from the hotel before his games. So JJ will be back next week for another good conversation. So hope you can join us then. So got the message from Dwarn this morning and just trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about. And I think, the conversation that I've been having this week have really been around like AI and processes and getting started. And I think a lot of people are probably, you yourself may be in that situation. It's just like, where do I get started? I tell a lot of people what we're doing on a regular basis with our systems and our strategies, but in reality, like we're months and years ahead probably of what a lot of people have invested time in. And I say this to a lot of individuals like yourself and I think we even had it the last conversation last week with JJ, right? Like you see social media, right? You see people's videos and it's like, holy shit, like I have to create that. Like I need to be at that level. And really you just have to get moving, right? Take a few steps in the right direction. And that's how we all started. And ultimately take yourself away from social media, take yourself away from like trying to see the number one like main processes and just get started with like one or two. I did a presentation yesterday on AI in your business and how you ultimately have to pick maybe one or two things that are going to make an impact. Like just pick something that's going to save you an hour, right? And if you can save yourself an hour a week, that's 50 hours a year, 50 hours a year if you take 2 weeks of vacation like a typical person. So that's like getting an entire week back. And if you think about it, if then you could do 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week or hell, 10 hours a week, how much extra could you get done in your day, in your workflows, if you could find those different pieces? And so that would be my challenge if you're listening to this, or as kind of people are logging in and kind of jumping on, like, and you're watching the replay, like just think, what are the one or two things that I spend a lot of time on right now that I could potentially get back an hour or 2 hours a day? And how much would that impact my business? How much would that impact my life, my community? We say it all the time. What are those ripple effects that happen when you make a change to yourself and all those people around you get impacted, right? So it's not just you when you make a change, right? It's your employees, it's your family, and it's even the community around you. It's one of the reasons why I have a passion to do what I do with people, is because I know that I'm not just going to help impact your life as the business owner. I'm impacting everybody around you, your potential future employees, your community, your family, and your clients, your customers. Like, there's a lot of impacts that could potentially happen from building a relationship and pushing those things forward. So what I wanted to kind of break down and kind of talk about a little bit today was, kind of just giving you a quick overview of some of the things, and maybe it's the idea of like spurring some thoughts of what you could potentially be doing in your business, right? Based on what we're doing, um, and help maybe even kind of overcome some of those typical pushback or questions that a lot of people have. Um, we'll cover some of those right now. Um, and then after that, I wanted to obviously kind of go into, more of a little bit on the financial side. Some, just a couple reminders of things that have come up this week in conversations that I had that I think is going to be impactful to you as well. Um, but with that, let's go ahead and kind of jump in. So one of the first things that, a lot of people ask us about is, what are you doing to help save time? And so that's where I began to really develop a lot of our internally for myself into what I call my command center. And my command center is more of like an executive assistant. The goal is, how can I have a partner through AI that would act for me just like an executive assistant would? So for an example, the morning routine, right? Every morning it analyzes what emails came in, what did I need to respond to that I didn't respond to, what are some outstanding tasks that are due today? Here's your meeting briefs for the meetings that you have on your calendar today, and here's action items that you need to take. Oh, and by the way, is there anything else that you wanted to focus your attention on that we can build into your day today? So that's what we call like the daily prep, you know? And a lot of people don't do that. If you think of yourself, like if you're not doing some sort of automated process to summarize your day at the end of the day or the beginning of the next, like how much time could that save you? How many emails would you not miss if you had it front and center of, hey, you got an email from your client Joe. It came in the morning, but I didn't see that you responded to it. Here's a draft response based on the conversation and information that I found. Like, how impactful would that be? How much time would that potentially save you? Like, those are the simple sort of workflows that could be developed that we're using on a regular basis as well, but it could be developed in your business for yourself. Is really, how can I save that hour? Um, in During the presentation I was doing yesterday on AI, somebody had mentioned that every morning they wake up, they scroll through the news articles, they read the news articles, and it takes a little bit of time for them to find what is relevant. You could have, as part of your daily prep every morning, the top 5 to 10 articles in your industry on a specific topic curated and just given to you. Now you don't have to search. Now that 30 to 45 minutes of actually finding the relevant information for you to read is front and center. And which actually brings me, one of the common pushbacks that I've heard from a lot of people over the last couple of years, and even more recently, has been, well, we're just dumbing ourselves down then. And I kind of made this point yesterday. Are we dumbing ourselves down, or are we just making ourselves more efficient and actually able to level up even more? Because if you think about it, what happened when the encyclopedias came out? People probably said the same thing, like, oh, we don't need a book that gives us all the information. Then Wikipedia came out and the internet came out, and everybody was kind of given the same sort of pushback. But what happened? People got smarter. And here's why. Before, when I'm going to date myself here, right? To do a research project, we used to have to go into the library, pull up the little Wikipedia and find the books that we wanted, and then go to the book and actually find the stupid numerical number on the shelf, pull the book out, read through the book, scan through the book, and find the relevant information that we were looking for our project, right? How much time did we spend in libraries and, in our whatever you want to call that numbering system to find the resources that we needed to create our report? Well, now you can do a same search, but instead of only looking at maybe two or three, because it's all the time you had, now you're able to get much deeper level research and information around your topic in order to write a better report. So are we dumber, or are we actually able to be smarter by using the systems and the processes in AI more efficiently to give ourselves more information? Right? By taking the process part out of it and just getting the information. Like, if you want to read and stay informed, what part of reading and staying informed does the actual searching for the article add to that process? Not much, right? It just takes up time. So if you could basically eliminate that time that takes you to get to the relevant information that you want to level up and educate yourself, that's just a bonus. And so that's how, when it's really a mindset shift that you have to make for yourself, is you have to really tell yourself, okay, I'm not dumber because I'm making my processes more efficient. I'm actually able to do more. I'm actually able to provide a bigger impact. I'm actually able to learn more by utilizing these sort of processes in my business and in my day-to-day life. There's so many different ways. Like, we've talked about it on this podcast before about education in AI. I truly think that in the future, near future, we potentially could have a AI that is basically trained on each individual student that would help teach that student individually in a specific way, whether that's in the school or not. And that's a debate for another day. But you can do that right now for yourself. And I was just watching I'd like to listen to some videos and stuff like that on my way into work. And one of the ones that I was listening to today was about the fact that, like, as a default, your AI system, whatever you're using, tends to become a yes man. You probably experienced that. I know I've definitely experienced that, because it just wants to agree with you. Think about the times where you've given it a suggestion and say, "Hey, I want to go build this," and it's probably gone and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Like, here, I'll go and build it for you." And then you change your mind and you say, "Well, actually, on second thought, maybe I don't want to do that. I want to do this." And what is the typical response from your AI? It's more or less like, "Oh, well, that's a smart idea. You're pretty smart for doing that. I'll go ahead and make that change for you." It's a yes man or a yes woman, however you want to refer to your AI system. And so this is when we've talked about, like, the guardrails and how you set up. You want it to be a partner. You want it to push back on things. You want to give it the context of how it should always respond to you. And the more and more you keep filling up your memory without giving that context of, "Hey, I need you to push me. I need you to push back. I need you to actually analyze this objectively, not just agree with me because I'm suggesting it." That has made a big impact on our processes as well, because it's actually made me think through. And also, not coming from a technical background, I'm able to really understand why it's pushing back or why this might not be a good idea. And so I really think that if you're not doing that yet in your business, in your processes with your AI, this is something that you could potentially start doing now. Like, really build it in. If you're using Claude, into your Claude MD file, um, training your, any other one, any AI agent that you're using, like, making sure that you're doing that in a way um, that is going to have it be your partner instead of just that yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, every single time you say something. It's going to help you benefit a lot more. So going back to, like, the process that we talked about, like the daily, the email, right, in the morning, and the summary and the prep and the executive assistant, like in the command center. And the reason I created what we call our command center is because, if you've ever used Claude, or if you've ever used, like, ChatGPT or anything like that, that the number of chats that are going on, especially if you're running like automated tasks, it can be really convoluted in what's actually happening or what's the information that you need. Also, for me, I found that a lot of the stuff on our side, like going to our ClickUp or going to the emails or doing the follow-ups for meetings, a lot of that stuff as well was in different places. And I was like, I just want to bring this all into one place that I can have it. It's an app. I can go to a website. It's a phone app. Basically a web app on my phone that I could just have an icon there. I can open it up and I can have access to all of the things that we're potentially doing or will be doing in one place. I don't have to go to all these different locations to pull them in. And so the next thing that I highly suggest for everybody, one is that daily debrief. Like, what's your today look like? And you have it focused as an executive assistant to help you maybe like draft the first emails, have context, have that history, that memory of every person that you're kind of conversating with and interacting with. But the second one that has been really impactful, I think, for me is what we built around like our meetings. So the first part, I was always, a meeting. I would basically go in and start like looking and preparing for a meeting about 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. And we had talked about this early on in the podcast and Alex Ramosi had mentioned it about how important you can actually be, and the more polished you sound in a meeting, if you take that extra 5 to 10 minutes before a meeting to just look over notes, prepare, see what's outstanding or see what their situation is, research their business, etc. And so I was doing a lot of that manually. But now, as part of not only the daily prep, but with our meeting processes, we have a meeting prep document process that runs. And so if there's been meetings before, it'll pull in the notes, it'll pull in the context. If they're a client, it'll actually go and find like, what are the open tasks? What are things that you talked about last time? And are they still open? And when we are in the meeting, we can mark those things off if they've been taken care of. Or ahead of time while I'm reviewing the brief, oh, that's been done. I can mark that off so it's not on the debrief anymore. And then the process afterwards is obviously it'll analyze. We've talked about it before, Granola. And then I also use Google Meet a lot. So if Google Meet, I'm also doing a duplicate because if Granola messes up, we also have Google. So there's a backup process in there as well. So it will bring in those notes, the transcript, all of that, and summarize it into the system. It'll pull out any sort of tasks that should be. It'll suggest a task. I then can make them into our ClickUp system. And then the email follow-up is the next piece. So that's the piece that really sort of puts you a leg up. If you think of how many times you probably miscommunicated or didn't follow up after like a prospect meeting, what was the lost opportunities there? So now, once it pulls in the notes, it will actually summarize and create a follow-up email. Now, if it's a prospect, it will also then set a follow-up date and prompt to say, hey, we didn't get a response from Jane. It's been about 5 days now. Do you want to craft another follow-up email to kind of keep this front of mind for her and see what her next steps look like? And so all of that is done within the system, automated. But the follow-ups are nice because I can train it. And that's for you, like you can train it. Like if you have clients and your client meeting should have a specific sort of format, you can say, hey, anytime we are having a meeting with a client and in our system, we're able to identify each email address by type. So whether it's a client, prospect, partner, other. And so in there, if it's a client meeting, the follow-up email is formatted in one way. If it's a prospect meeting, it's formatted in another way. And if it's a partner, then it's something, a third version of the format that way each person or each type of individual is not getting the same generic sort of email format, right? In my clients, it's a lot of, hey, here's what we talked about. Here's where you're at. Here's a win that you mentioned. But here's your homework, right? Here's what you need to be doing the next couple of weeks. And then here's what we're doing as well, right? If it's a prospect, it's, hey, here's what we learned about you. Here's the issues that you had mentioned. that you said was a problem. Here's the outcome that you would like to see. And here is your next step, whether it's we're getting together in 2 or 3 days to talk about a proposal. Is it, we talked about the proposal. Here's the summary of the information again. But it's formatted in a way that I like it to have a conversation with my individuals. So that's made what I would call like the second process that I think a lot of people, especially small business owners, should implement, is that piece around um, your meetings, your follow up, your meetings, your tasks, all of that. And then the third, and we'll see what time looks like, but I'll try to get through all of what we are doing in our command center. And don't think you have, again, I'm going to caveat this. You don't have to do all of this right away. Like, this has been months and months and months of us putting this together. And even before that, what our processes were and what our system was, that we have now just turned it into what it is today. Don't think like you're like, oh my God, I got to do this now. Like, that's not. So pick the 1-2 things that you're listening and like, I want to start with that, right? I want to start with those processes. And that's what you need to focus on. The third one is our content, right? And I think this is a lot of things that a lot of people struggle with, is how do I just post more, right? How do I get more information out? And so what we built was initially, it was, hey, here's who we are. Here's what we want to talk about. Here's some of the pains. Here's some of the struggles. Like, go post about it. And for a while, it was okay. It wasn't necessarily impactful. It was really broken, where it would create copy. I would then have to like break down and create the images separately. And then the images didn't always come out, and there wasn't a varying format. It was always the same format. And so when it went to post, it would just previously it was only able to post the text copy. I had to then go manually add the images because the functionality wasn't there yet. So it was really broken down. But now within our command center, we've actually been able to improve that whole process even better. And I think what I've heard from a lot of people, and this is a little bit of mine as well, is I want to have control, or at least a review of what's being said and how it's being said. And I want to improve things before they go out. So in our command center, how I kind of built our engine is, it's on our second computer, and it generates everything. It generates the copy, it generates the images. And then for the week, so like actually this afternoon, it's going to upload everything for next week, starting Tuesday to the next Monday. In the command center, I have to log in, and I'll be able to see every day across the 3 main platforms that we're posting and the 2 different profiles on LinkedIn and Facebook, what the copy is, what the image is going to be, and then what the first comment's going to be. Because how I trained it is, instead of just being more generic of, hey, here's who we are, here's what we do, go put some copy, so go put some posts together, is it actually now has access to all of these transcripts from our podcasts. It has stripped versions of client notes in terms of what are the strategies that we're talking about, that I've talked about to implement. And then it also has access to like our newsletters on LinkedIn, etc. And it actually pulls from that information to then create the content to then be posted. And so a lot of like the first comments would be, if there's a clip back to a podcast episode, it's going to clip directly back to YouTube. If it's a copy about a statement from a newsletter, it's going to then in the first comment link back to the newsletter, so that people, if they like the copy, they can actually go read the full newsletter. And so the beauty of that type of content creation for yourself is, it's not generic, and it's really built on what you want it to say. So what I found by doing this is that a lot of the copy doesn't require my attention much anymore. I review it, I approve. I can give feedback as well, like on the copy or the image in general, and then it will go and recreate it and then re-upload it for me to approve. But then once I approve them, it goes back to the computer, and now it's either posted through what our Go High Level social automation, because Go High Level could do both a personal and a business page on LinkedIn, and then your business page on Facebook. So it can't do your Facebook personal page, and it can't do alignable, which is what we post a lot on. So those two, Facebook personal page and alignable, those are actually done through Cowork still. But the beauty of like Cowork is I don't have to do anything else. I still approve it. And what happens is then it writes that approved copy that it's approved. And Cowork, if I haven't approved it yet, will not post it. And it'll clearly say, hey, like this is not approved yet. You don't have anything marked as approved for today. Go approve it. Alignable, still a little bit of manual process. So alignable, the image doesn't attach. So I have to go in and attach the image. Facebook, however, through Cowork, now you can actually attach your images to the scheduled posts. And alignable, you can't schedule. So alignable is just got to be live that morning and that afternoon for me to actually go in, open it up after it's posted it or prepped it, and then I have to approve it on alignable. Other than that, everything else is pretty much automated for Facebook and LinkedIn. Also, the other piece that I think a lot of people, or at least for me, that I found impactful is I'll be scrolling through social media and I'll see like either like a carousel type, or I'll see maybe an image kind of style that will pique my interest. And I'm like, oh man, I like that. So I actually also built into the system for myself a way for me to capture inspiration. So what I can do is either screenshot the image or copy a link to the specific post, and I can go into my command center and share that with the inspiration section and say, hey, I really like this and here's why. Here's what I want, right, to potentially do with this. It'll go back to my engine, it'll review it, and then it'll send me a plan back of, hey, here's the plan based on what you said. Approve the plan, and then we'll update the engine to start incorporating this new copy or the new carousel type or the new image style, etc. That's been helpful as well because I'm not a designer either, but I can find things that I like and give it to the system to say, hey, make this our own, right? I like the idea of this type of post or this type of style. Let's make it our own. And so that's what we've done. And if you think about it, like you would be paying somebody else to do it yourself or to do it for you. So you're not really like you're basically just using your AI to do it and help you with that. So that's how we're kind of doing content right now. On the long form, on the video, we are also using our AI process for that. We have an entire sort of workflow. There's a couple manual pieces in there that it can't do yet, but we have pretty much automated once. So, for example, once the podcast is done, it will download the full episode, upload it into our systems to be cut down. It'll pick the right areas. It'll schedule the next podcast episode. It'll pick the clips, so it pulls down the transcript. I have a whole transcript sort of skill that analyzes the whole transcript and picks out which pieces of the podcast will make the best clips, and then it reviews that against the clips that are created with the AI software, determines which ones it needs to download, and then tells me when it's ready to download. And then the manual piece for me is actually going through and then actually having to upload them to our editing software. But once they're edited and downloaded again, I just say, hey, they're all downloaded. Here's the folder. It will then go out and schedule all those, right? Using repurpose, which we've talked about before. And repurpose is nice because you only have to potentially post it to one location, and it will then post out from there to all your other locations. So I would say about 80 to 85% of our video content pieces is also an automated process as well. So there's a lot of things that you could potentially be doing in your in your workflows around that aspect. And so that's what we kind of say, like, think of what you're doing manually. What are those processes that are always requiring you to do manual steps? Write them down and then start working through those. Because as I said at the beginning, like saving 1 hour a week is 50 hours a year. That's like getting an entire work week back every single year just by saving an hour every single week. So if you can do 10 hours a week, that's, almost 2.5 months of time back that you have with it that you can do within your business to be more effective. Or sometimes that could be just, hey, I want to free up some time to spend some time with the family. Like that's where you start to, kind of shift a lot of your workload and a lot of your attention. So we've talked the daily prep, basically the executive assistant sort of workflow that we build in the command center. The meeting side, like how do you actually become more efficient with your meetings, your follow-up, et cetera. And then the content piece, right? How do you do the content? And then the final piece of content is our article generation. We kind of automated a lot of that as well to talk about specific things that we want to talk about. So now in our command center, it drafts the article with the inline images for me to review. I'm able to read through it. I'm able to give the feedback and say, no, I don't really like this here. Or I want to change sort of the direction of the article. And then once I approve it, it then goes and it will schedule and post it in LinkedIn or wherever it needs to be posted to. So that's the other final piece of content is, within there. These are kind of the walkthroughs of the systems that we're doing. So we do content, and then the last piece that we kind of have that I do a lot in here is our outreach. So DMs, also our inbox is in here as well, but the big piece is DM management and outreach management. And so what we built is obviously the system is going through, it's checking, any one of our inboxes. And when a conversation needs to be had, it again sends it into the command center. I'm then able to review what the draft message is, and it will tell me the history. Like, this is a new connection. Here's the business that they're in. Here's the industry they're in. Here's the first initial message they just accepted yesterday or something like that. Or if it's somebody that has been having a conversation with for a little while, whether it's a prospect, whether it's a new partner, et cetera, it will give me that back history. Hey, John mentioned that he's looking for potential financial support. You had kind of mentioned back and forth about X, Y, and Z. Here's the next step to get him into a conversation or something like that. And so then I can approve or again request a revision right there from the system. And so it will grab it, revise it if I needed to, send it back up. And then once I hit approve, every hour or so, it runs a DM send process where anything that was approved during that hour, it goes out and it sends those messages. And then on the back end of that is obviously the tracking. And this is the part that we're improving right now because there's always improvements that can be made. Before it was like basically just a list within our ClickUp. And it was really sort of convoluted. If we got an email system, like let's say somebody, for an example, this is an error that we kind of found and we're improving, we could have a conversation with somebody through email of, hey, let's set up a meeting. Great. Let's have a conversation. We set up a meeting. We have that meeting. Now, the DM side of it didn't have access to that because ClickUp wasn't really connected to our email system. And so the DM, I would get a card and saying, oh, here's your meeting with John, even though I knew I just had a meeting with John. He's in the connecting stage. Here's the connecting message. And so what we're doing now is we're actually building it to be within Go High Level through the pipelines in Go High Level. So within there, instead of it just being ClickUp and only being, one forward-facing sort of card management, Go High Level is going to be able to manage, right, email. The DM system will come in and update any information in there in the notes so that it's more effective to actually realize, oh, okay, he's not in connecting anymore. They actually already had a meeting. So these are kind of those basic processes and things to continually improve upon. And that's why I kind of say, like, it's never set it and forget it. It's really set it, manage it, improve it constantly. That's like, once you create it, you're reviewing and improving constantly. And that's kind of the management piece that you have as the human involved in the process. So those are, I would say, those are the main things in the command center right now that we're doing that I think are things that, as a business owner, are going to be your most impactful to get started, right? One, having some sort of executive assistant sort of summary prep for your day for you right then and there. Two, how do you manage your follow up and your meetings and your prep for your meetings more efficiently as well? How do you ensure that you're prepared for every meeting that you're going into based on the context and everything that's happened before with that individual if you've had a meeting with them before? Three, your content, whether it's social posting, whether it's video, whether it's article generation, whatever it is, that's a process that you should be focused on. And then four is your outreach. Like, what's your outreach look like that you're doing right now, whether it's email or DM. Those are both in the system. And of course, there's a lot more different, sort of process, but those are the main four that I kind of wanted to overview what we're doing, and hopefully it sparks some ideas on your end of things that you could be doing in your business and your workflows that could potentially move and save you those time every single week. But I want to take a minute. Sponsorship, right, by me, Triumph Business Solutions, and then we'll jump into the financial piece. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about to wrap up the show. As you know, it's coming into July 4th, and it is a big 250th anniversary July 4th party, however you want to call it, for the United States of America. And with that, we at Triumph Business Solutions are going to be launching our Triumph July 4th 250th anniversary special. And so what that is if you're a business owner and you're doing a lot of your financial reconciliation, your financial statements manually, we want to help alleviate some of that with you. So if you are a business under $250,000, it's for the first 6 months, it's $250 a month. If you're between 250,000 and $1 million, it's $500 a month. And then if it's you're above $1 million to $5 million, it would be $1,000 a month for basic sort of categorization, review financial statements. There's a monthly sort of group coaching session, group Q&A session. And then the first 10 people that sign up actually will get an extra 2 one-on-one 60-minute sort of private review analysts sessions that we can go over with you. So if you're a business owner and you're doing all that yourself and you are like, I'm ready to give this away, outsource this, save this time, it may now be the time for you with Triumph Business Solutions. You guys are getting it early. Like, I haven't even pushed this out to social media or anything. You, because you're watching this on the podcast, are getting this access early. So if you're interested, comment down below with your email. I'll reach out to you and we'll get you a meeting set up to see, kind of overview it so you guys can see what it is, everything that's included in it, and if it makes sense for your business, then we can move forward. But with that, let's get back to the show. Let's see, Vinny, before we jump on here, Vinny is in India, and he's a student who's just learning the knowledge, but I want to do business and I don't have money and I want to become a rich person. So according to you, how can I start? Well, the biggest thing that you could do if you are a student and you're young is you have a lot of time, my friend. What I would say is you shouldn't be going out and if you truly want to be successful, in your 20s, you shouldn't have late night parties. You shouldn't have any of this stuff, right? That time should be spent learning some sort of skills to solve a problem for your potential ideal client. So if you want to do business to business, what is something that you're good at that you want to solve? Like, what's a problem that somebody has that you're going to potentially solve? And then become an expert in that problem solution. Two is then you need to figure out, okay, what is that problem? What is that outcome potentially worth to my ideal client? And then so you can price it appropriately in order to scale up. I also would say, since you do have the time, don't be afraid either to, do some things cheaper than you normally would expect it to be to get the experience and to also get the testimonials, because those testimonials are worth a lot of real life, right, impact that the extra couple $100 a month might have given to you. So that would be my advice for you to get started. Find a problem that your ideal client is facing, create a solution for that problem, and then market that solution and have conversations with people. And don't be afraid to get out there and make mistakes, but also don't be afraid to get out there and actually have conversations with your ideal client. Like that's how you're going to be able to get ahead. That's how you're going to be able to kind of differentiate yourself. So appreciate the question, man. All right. So let's see, follow up here. I know the main thing is just money and I have to earn it. My English is good, but I want to get rich. Listen, money is not the only thing, right? You have time, right? So at least you aren't going to be going out, right? I'm sure you'll be able to develop some friends through business as well, but you have time to really get out there, and that's your most valuable commodity. A lot of people think, oh, I need money, right? I need to spend in marketing. Well, really you don't. Like, you have time, which is your most valuable commodity. So what you should be doing, right, is once you find out that solution to the problem, okay, and here's the no risk, right, is you go and just talk to people that you are solving that problem for. Like, there's zero risk to that, right? So if you literally, let's say you want to solve a business to business problem of, I want to help automate XYZ process, and you develop the solution for that. Well, around your area or anywhere, or even if it's online, like having communication with business owners to present the solution. Hey, I have this potential solution with this problem. Can I show it to you, right? And again, this is high level, but you have to be willing to get out there and have those conversations. And you mentioned like your English isn't really good. Well, then you can use a AI system to help you communicate better in English, right? One, you can learn it as you're going through it too, is kind of the side effect. But then two, anytime that you need to communicate, you communicate in your natural language, and it can turn it into a better English formatted, whether it's a message, whether it's an email, etc. So there's a lot of opportunities, right, that you have right now to really kind of put yourself in front of everybody else in your realm. So you're 19 and you don't have money. Again, like I said, the biggest thing that you can do here, right, and is manage your time. Right? At 19, you should be learning and growing and having conversations. No judgment, because without money, the only commodity that you have to spend is your time. And so really, how are you spending that time, which is more valuable than having money? And creating that problem, that solution that's going to generate you money in the future. So learning AI processes, learning the idea of creating a solution for somebody, that's where all your time should be invested. That's where your networking should be invested at 19. Provide results and then take those results and grow exponentially from there by having those conversations and repeating that process over and over and over again. But the first thing you have to do is figure out, what is that problem that I'm going to help people solve. Once you find that, then you start communicating and solving the problems for your ideal client, and that's how you're going to generate wealth. So, Vinny, I one thing I'm gonna applaud you for, Vinny, man, is like, I wasn't even at 19 like thinking that way. Granted, when I was at 19, I didn't have YouTube to watch or anything like that. But by you just being here, like asking these questions, like being willing to watch like the podcast, being willing to, follow people, like, and learn, that's your biggest asset, right? Like, you are already a leg up of everybody else your age. And I think the one thing you need to realize for yourself, sir, right, is that it's not about becoming rich in your 20s. What's going to make you rich in your 40s and your 50s is using your late teens, early and your 20s to get all the knowledge and the experience and the growth to occur in those years, because then you can grow it in your 40s and 50s, and that's when you're going to become wealthy. The average millionaire, man, is in their 50s. But so many people see these quick get rich, right, teens on Instagram. But think of them, like how many of them have been then arrested or accused of scamming to get there, or accused of renting their Lamborghini instead of actually owning it in front of a video. Like, don't pay attention to that, man. You are so far ahead of anybody your age, man. Like, applaud yourself for that. Be proud of yourself for that piece. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. But you stayed, which puts yourself a fraud. Like, I know it was randomly. It was probably on your feed, right? Hey, man. But ultimately, you stayed, and a lot of people your age probably wouldn't stay, which is where you're really going to get that extra value, brother. And I appreciate it, in terms of the questions, because I think in reality for you, man, like, you're already a level up. Just keep doing it. Just an hour a day, watch, get some advice, learn. And the piece for you, man, is don't think you have to implement every single thing that you hear either. Like, pick and choose what works for me, and you can create your sort of custom approach that builds Vinny. Like, Vinny isn't Dave, right? Vinny, you're your own dude. So pick what works for you, and kind of take the lessons from everybody that you're following, and implement that into your life. So, all right, so let's see here. So social media feeds like young people's 18 to 30. And after that, a little nerves. And I'm in third year of engineering, but the companies are firing empty oracles. Has just 3,000 plus people and many more. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it looks like you're in your third year of engineering school. And sounds like there might be some risk of, like, the companies are firing people. Vivek, okay, that's your name. Sorry. So Vivek, man. But what I would say, brother, is you're in engineering, right? So you have engineering. You definitely got to be smart in order to be in that realm. So look at the engineering industry, especially if you love it and you have a passion for it, and find that problem, right? Like, find the issue that's happening that you could, based on what you've learned and everything that you've gone through, that you could potentially solve in a more efficient way than what you're seeing these mass big companies do. Now, granted, in engineering, you probably aren't going to be able to go out and start a brand new business at 19, right? But can you take a solution and maybe even bring it to an engineering firm and provide a solution for them that says, hey, here's how you can make this process more efficient, and then you can go sell it to everybody else. And that's what's going to make you more efficient, right? Or make you more impactful, make you more money than just working within the engineering company. So there is a lot of opportunities. You just have to maybe pull yourself back from your current situation and think through the entire process as a whole. So the tech companies who are just firing, what should I do? AI is just taking jobs day by day. So I know this is a common theme, right? That AI is taking jobs day by day. But really, it's just making people more efficient. And the people that are getting fired are the people that aren't, one, implementing AI, right, appropriately, and haven't done it effectively. So they're not effective in the new sort of culture or the new workflows of the organization, so they get fired. So I wouldn't be afraid of AI in businesses, right? What AI does is allows two things. One, either you as a company don't have to hire a new person because your current staff has become more efficient, that what you thought you needed more capacity to achieve can now be done with your current staff levels. Or two, when somebody leaves, you don't have to replace that person because of the efficiencies that you had in your business. Now, how does somebody in your situation, right? Like, my suggestion to you would really become, in your engineering realm, become that expert in AI, right? And again, tech tech companies that are firing people, they're not necessarily who you wanted to work for anyways, right? You're in engineering. And when I say AI, like, AI is not just a tech firm. Like, AI is in every business type. It's in accounting, it's in, engineering, it's in consulting, it's in, inspections. Like, AI is something that is going to impact every single business type, not just technology. So what we need to focus on and for yourself, right, is how can I become that sort of AI expert in a specific one or two industries, that when a tech company wants to come in and implement a solution that's ridiculously expensive, but a company still needs your solution, you could be a different version of it that is cost effective on both sides but creates an impact. So don't be afraid that, like, tech is firing companies, you know what I mean? Or firing employees, because the people that are getting fired are probably the people that didn't adopt the AI in the first place. Um, exactly, man. Like, exactly. So, I say this sort of, thing about, when you get a job, you are kind of just a number. And I learned this the hard way. Like, it doesn't matter. You could do everything the right way. And then something could happen and you're just kind of let go, right? And you're on your own. So what I would say here, right, is that you really have to, um, I wouldn't get away from the realm. So, like, don't just, like, quit your job. Like, use it as the baseline for you to learn, especially if, like, again, if you enjoy being in engineering, you enjoy, like, l- be observant in your day-to-day processes at your day-to-day job, and then use that to think, when you get home, what are all those things that I could potentially be doing to turn this into a business for myself, to replace that income, right? And then figure out, like, for yourself, depending on what it is, if you're trying to, let's say you need to make $2,000 a month. Well, because that's what you're making at your job. I mean, $2,000 a month, depending on what you would be doing, is a couple different ways. One, maybe you're selling a SaaS solution based on number of employees that company has. Well, you could charge 15, $20 a month for that. If they have 10 employees, that's $200. You only need 10 companies to make your 2,000. Now, obviously, you'll have some costs associated, things like that, but, just high level. Or if you're doing some sort of, like, one-on-one, sort of consulting or coaching, or impact with the company. Now, let's say that's, 750 a month. Well, now you only need three of those clients to bring in your $2,000 a month. So it really is like, once you find that problem, how do you want to deliver that solution? How do you want to deliver that support? And then that's going to determine what your goal is in order to offset that full-time income for you to then take that shift and make that leap out of your job and then into your own business. So, but don't be in a rush. You know what I mean? Like, especially now, you're still young enough where, you're only 3 years in. What are you learning? Like, ask, like, the biggest thing that you could be is like a sponge, and be like a cat, right? Be really curious about everything. Whenever you talk to a business owner, or whenever you talk to a teacher, like, inquire with them, hey, what are some things that, like, have recently come up that have been a problem that just, like, nobody's been able to solve? Like, or what are some things that have become more inefficient in the industry over the years? Like, have these types of conversations and ask these types of questions. That's what's going to differentiate you, man. Last question, brother, and then I got to jump off because I got a client meeting I got to jump to. But this is a loaded question. So, what are the mistakes that you have done in your life, brother? I don't have time on this podcast to list mistakes that I've made in my life. Um, but here's one truth that I've come to realize, my friend, is that you are never not going to make a mistake. You are never not going to fuck up. So don't be afraid to do it. You know, this is my third sort of foray into business. It's my third business. The first two were really unsuccessful. The first one was a franchise that I had worked with when I was in college, as a senior, as a manager. And then after about a year or two of working, I'm like, man, I want to go back into that. I saw how easy it was. Let me get into that business. And I didn't know anything about it at that point. So we bought the franchise. We ran a couple of the offices and it failed after about 4 years just because the cash flow wasn't there and I didn't know how to market, didn't know how to network, didn't know how to do any of that. I just thought it would just come to me, which is what I saw because I didn't see any of the background information or the steps that the business owner was doing when I was in the office. And so that was a mistake. You know what I mean? Another one was, I started I guess you can call it like an accounting the first time, probably about 14 years now or something like that ago, where again, I still wasn't in the mode of I need to network. I didn't know what networking was really at that point. I didn't know how to actually have conversations, to step outside my comfort zone. I just expected that I'm going to put this out on social media and things are going to come to me, right? People need it. They know me, but really, how many people really truly do know you? And so you do have to do more marketing, more networking, more impactful conversations, provide insights, you do have to get a lot of the high level strategies away. Because in reality, nothing that 99% of people are going to say or do is earth shattering. Like it's not new, right? A lot of the knowledge and the strategy, like it's all there. Now there are a few times, like an Uber, right, in America, right, where somebody comes up with an idea that's completely brand new. Those are the companies that are going to, they solve a problem and they're going to, drastically expand. But if you're not in that situation and you're in a spot where it's like, hey, I'm going to take my experience and I'm going to turn it into a business. How are you going to be different? That's the piece that I figured out that from the mistakes that I made over the years. So for you, I would say the biggest thing is I already mentioned, my 20s, right after college, I wanted work and I spent money. I didn't invest my time appropriately. I spent probably the wrong amount of time trying to get out of my parents' house and it ended up, in a quick marriage. Now granted, I love it because I have my 3 kids, but probably wasn't the right situation. Now I'm paying for that mistake because right now I'm spending more of my late 30s and 40s building everything that I could have been building in my 20s. And so that's why for you, my friend, I really think like you're already there, man. You're asking the right questions. What I would say is one, follow us. We do this every Friday morning at 8:15 Eastern or 8:30 Eastern. But, a couple of other people for you to go look at is Alex Hermosi. Go look up Alex Hermosi. Go look up Gary Vaynerchuk. Grant Cardone. Like those are influencers that I've paid attention to in the past that have really sort of shaped, my focus. And the more and more that I found I spend time consuming, the better off my results are. My productivity is better. Where I have found that I have sort of started to trail off was when I thought I was in a good spot and I stopped consuming, right? I stopped learning. I stopped listening to people who are doing what I want to be doing. Then I saw a backslide. So if you can correct that for yourself, right? And you can set that habit up for yourself of here's the people that I want to listen to. Here's the people that I want to follow, that I want to get insights from. and constantly do that, and then take that and implement it and replicate it in your own life, you're going to win, man. But you have to do it consistently. So I appreciate you and everything you kind of brought here, man. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful and amazing day. Vivek, you and your girlfriend, man, you're gonna crush it, brother. You just keep doing what you're doing, keep being here, keep showing up, and I guarantee, you're gonna win, brother. Again, we do this every Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate the questions. Hope I pointed you in the right direction. And for everybody else, if you're watching the replay, please feel free, drop your questions down below, and we'll get them answered live on a future episode, or feel free to shoot me a message or an email. But until then, do all that fun algorithmy stuff, like, share, make sure you're subscribed. And with that, we'll see everybody in the next one. Have a wonderful and amazing week. We'll see you next Friday.